When I tell you that everything was on the line on the 21st of May in Bilbao, I mean everything was on the line. Now, before we actually get into the final, I think it's actually quite important to talk about how Tottenham actually got there, because it's actually ridiculous. If you had told most Tottenham fans that under Ange Postecoglou, when we first appointed him, he was going to win us a European trophy, most of them would have just called you crazy. When Ange came in, there was a fair amount of people that did have belief and excitement, but I think majority were in doubt, especially because we just lost Harry Kane to Bayern Munich. Ange got one game in pre-season with him, and I think it was just a week before the season actually started. We lost Harry. And obviously that's a massive blow. I don't need to talk about how good Harry Kane was for us. But, with that being said, most pundits had us outside the top four. And I think most people just kind of assumed that it wasn't going to be a great season for us. But almost instantly you could tell something was different. And those doubts kind of evaporated quite quickly. The football was enjoyable to watch. It was refreshing. It was fun. We were going forward and we were winning games. And even when we weren't winning games, the results didn't matter because we were playing attacking football. It's like Ange had bought some identity with him and just implemented it into Tottenham almost instantaneously. And that was just brilliant to feel as a fan. Now, our Europa League campaign under Ange Postecoglou it wasn't the easiest, but it wasn't the hardest. I know I see a lot of people clowning on it, especially rival fans saying, "Oh, it's only Bodo Glint and everything," but it wasn't easy. Eintracht Frankfurt, they had Ekatike breaking through. AZ Alkmaar, obviously Troy Parrott, who everyone thinks is one of the best upcoming strikers right now, and Bodo Glimt this season have gone on to beat Manchester City, and they've had some brilliant performances in the Champions League. So it kind of goes to show that our campaign wasn't easy, like everyone says it was. The later rounds is actually also where Anne started changing up what he was doing. I remember the second leg against Frankfurt when we went, well, it was 2-1 up on aggregate, but 1-0 up in the game. Dominic Solanke penalty. We actually sat back, and that was the first time I think we'd really seen Ange do that at Tottenham anyway. And it kind of showed that he wasn't naive as all the pundits made him out to be. He knew what he was doing. He wanted to have the identity, and it's not like the Tottenham players forgot how to play his way. He kind of just thought, you know what, we'll sit back for the rest of this game and we'll make it through this round at least. I think also after we beat Frankfurt, that was the quarterfinals. I think that was the kind of give. That's where everyone started to believe like this is doable now because we knew we had Bodo Glimt next, and although we had been really poor, I think everyone kind of thought we can definitely beat them. Like, surely we can beat them. And then the final, obviously, we had no clue who it would be at that point, but it was kind of shaping up to be a Manchester United versus Tottenham final. Now, I was actually at the first leg of the Bodo Glimt game in the semi-finals. We won 3-1 that day, and I remember leaving the stadium and I wasn't actually too pleased. Although we'd won, I kind of thought, I don't know, everyone had been talking about their stadium and how difficult it is to go there. And I thought, do I trust our players to sit back? Obviously, in hindsight, looking at the Frankfurt game, how we sat back there, I should have believed it. But I remember just walking out the stadium, although I was gassed that we'd won the first leg, I remember thinking, like, job's not finished. Like, I wasn't 100% convinced, even though we had a 2-goal lead. I remember being in the stadium getting notifications for the Manchester United game as well, because I think they initially went 1-0 down, and then they went 2-1 up, and then they conceded in the last minute, so it was 2-all. And I remember walking out of that, and I didn't like how uncertain it was. I really didn't feel like playing Manchester United in the final would have been good for Tottenham. I thought, we just get dominated no matter what, even though they were also having a poor season. I just thought, I didn't feel me with much confidence. Now, obviously, we did actually go on to win the next leg away 2-0, which I didn't see happening at the time. I remember thinking, like, they'll probably hold us to a draw, maybe a 1-0. Going into that game, I picked up in confidence a little bit and thought, you know what, we'll get it done and we'll go to the Europa League final or whatever. I do remember the amount of notifications I was getting for the Manchester United game was crazy. Obviously, that game ended 5-4. United scored about 2 goals in added time, in extra time, and it was just crazy. That Harry Maguire header. And that Leon also got a red card, so it was just absolutely bonkers. I couldn't really follow what was going on. And then I remember after that game, I was like, right, well, United in a Europa League final. God, that feels like a weird game. Now, I think it was kind of similar for every Tottenham fan. It was like kind of a unanimous thing. I know a lot of people were confident, but I think everyone had that thing in the back of their head where they were like, it's Manchester United. I know there was a Jamie Carragher quote, and he literally said, like, he just can't see Tottenham going and winning a final against Manchester United, even though they're both in really poor form. Neither of them were at the best of their abilities. He even said it, and I remember I kind of agreed. Although I was still going to back Tottenham and think we were going to win it. I remember thinking in the back of my head, I was like, there's just a really good chance we just get done in the final here. We've not got the legs for it. United have been in this position countless times. Their fan base won't be feeling the nerves the same way we'll be so nervous going into it, because it's not just winning a trophy, it's breaking a 17-year trophy curse for us, and it was massive. Now, if we fast forward to the day of the final, the 21st of May, I remember actually feeling confident for once. Now, that is different for me, because every time I've watched Tottenham in a big game, whether it be a semi-final or a final, I've never been confident. And I've had reason to believe that, because I've never really seen us get it over the line. I mean, I was 4 years old when we won our last trophy, so it was quite a big thing for me to actually feel a bit confident. Now, I was at Tottenham Stadium to watch the game. I didn't go to Bilbao because I had work that day, so it's not, I could never have made it. So I went to the Tottenham Stadium, met my mates there, and I remember the atmosphere when I walked into the stadium. I was just thinking, today feels different. I don't know if it was the sun going into the evening, just seeing everyone dressed in white in the stadium is just my favourite thing ever as well. And I just remember I got a bit confident. I was like, you know what? We can actually do this. We can do this. I feel like we can. Now, where I was, obviously they had screens on the pitch, but the screens were pretty small, so I was cranking my neck to look up at the screens behind me, the ones that you always have in the stadium. And I remember the first half, it was so sluggish. It was slow. We didn't really look like we were out for it. We weren't playing Ange ball. I remember we had a couple opportunities. I remember Brennan winning the ball high up on the right-hand side, and we didn't quite make the most of it. And then I remember the goal. I was sat there, and people around me stood up because they obviously saw the ball going in, and I was late to standing up because I was like, oh, hang on a minute. And then obviously the ball's gone in. I've not seen how it's gone in. I just assumed Brennan's just got on the end of it and kicked it in. But then obviously I saw the replay after going absolutely mental. I saw the replay and I was like, yeah, Christ, that is an awful goal. Still to this day, I don't know how they gave it to Brennan. That's so funny to me, but they did, and that was a huge goal. And then obviously half time wasn't that long after, so I remember I didn't move at half time. I sat there. I was like, I can't move. I need to process this. Now the second half, I remember sitting there just in agony the whole time because it was painful. This is the interesting part about Ange. He also did the Frankfurt tactic where he just had everyone sit back. I remember Basuma actually played really well this game, especially the second half. And when he subbed on Kevin Danso, I remember thinking, like, God, we're screwed if they score, because I don't see us scoring another goal, and I do not back us to win on penalties at all. But Ange obviously showed me who's boss. I remember just everything was going right. The Van der Ven clearance, the Vicario saves, the Danso clearance, which is just so underrated. It's just an incredible clearance. I just remember thinking, especially going into that 90th minute as it was ticking over, and then they have that corner, and I remember watching it, and it just felt like time just standing still, and it was doing my head in. Like, all I wanted was for that final whistle to go. Obviously, then the final whistle goes. We've done it. We've won the Europa League. I wish I could bottle that feeling up so bad. I just remember I don't think I've ever been that happy. Genuinely, just the relief that I felt. It was just pure like jubilation, and then everyone getting down onto the pitch. I remember getting down there. I've got some grass somewhere in my room from the pitch. Took some photos there, and honestly, just what a day. I remember walking back up the Tottenham High Road. Everyone chanting. The amount of people I hugged on that day, just like honestly, just everyone. It just felt like I knew everyone. They were my brothers, hugging everyone. It's just such an unbelievable feeling. The bit that I really wanted to delve into in this video was actually what happened after we won the Europa League, because I remember winning it while finishing so low in the table. It didn't feel like a true Europa League win in the sense that we're this big European club. Obviously, it gave us Champions League qualification, which is huge, financial bonus, and it will attract players that were playing in the Champions League. But I remember just thinking, it doesn't feel quite right. I think it was also the fact that we didn't really know if Ange was going to keep his job. Now, I still believe that he should have kept his job. How can you fire someone that's broken a 17-year trophy curse. I know we didn't do well in the league, but he also came out so many times and said he was throwing it away because he was focusing on the Europa League, and it worked. I think the players had really bought into his project as well, and then you get rid of him, and it feels like such a weird time to do it. I would have given at least the start of the next season to him, maybe some Champions League games, and seen how it had gone, because the players have bought in. You've got every player that wants to sit there and play for him. So, again, I don't think that sacking him was the right thing to do, but, you know. And then, obviously, being in the Champions League, I thought we'd kind of attract some big managers. Now, that's not to say I was against hiring Thomas Frank at the time. I thought it was a good appointment. I felt like we could have done better, but I wasn't angry at it. I thought, you know what? He's got the best out of a poor bunch in Brentford. That's not slandering Brentford. Like, I'm just on about how well he did with them. And he was there for so long. And I thought, you know what? If you can do that here, you know, if you can start profiling our younger players as well, who's to say we can't go on and be a top team again like we saw under Mauricio Pochettino? I understand there's a food chain in football, and I know that Tottenham aren't really near the top, unfortunately. Never really have been, and I think the Eze saga kind of showed that. Now, it does hurt even more that it was Arsenal that he went to, although he is a boyhood Arsenal fan, so it does add up. Now, I did really want to sign Eze. In hindsight, I'm glad we didn't, because, you know, he's getting on now. What is he, nearly 30? He's 30, he was nearly 30. He's a good player, but I mean, the only things he did this season was miss a penalty in the Champions League final and dunk on us twice. Other than that, he didn't really do much. So, yeah, I wasn't really mad. I was mad at the time, but now I'm not mad about losing out on Eze. The one that felt like massive to me, a massive signing, was actually getting the Xavi Simons deal over the line, because there were talks of him going to Chelsea as well. And I've always assumed that if Chelsea and Tottenham go knocking for a player, they're going to choose Chelsea just because they've got more money to offer. They've won more than us. They're a bigger club than us. I just always assumed that would be the way it goes. But no, we got it over the line. It felt like a massive deal after we lost out on Eze. And I was chuffed with it. I thought that is a brilliant signing to bring in. And Mohamed Kudus is the other one. Again, that's just a brilliant signing. I remember at the time, I wasn't actually too happy with it. But when we were linked with it, I was like, oh, really, Kudus? But then after it happened, I was like, you know what? I can see why this is going to be a good signing, and I'm happy with it. Two things, two players here are the two loan players we brought in this season. Now, this was always odd to me. It was always odd. Bringing in Paulinho on loan. Now, that one I can understand because we didn't really have a lot of experience in midfield with James Maddison being out injured. So I didn't mind that one, really. He wasn't a brilliant player, never really. Well, at Fulham he was. There's a reason he got shunned out at Bayern. But I wasn't against it. I was like, you know what? Extra legs in midfield, it's only on loan. The one that I didn't understand was Kolo Muani. Now, Solanke, he's a decent striker on his day. This season he hasn't been very good. But before that, under Ange, I think he was all right. He wasn't amazing. He wasn't awful. But I might be comparing him to Kane too much. Now, I don't understand what the thought process is in bringing in this player that's flopped after a big move. Kolo Muani went from Frankfurt to PSG for 90 million, and then he missed the sitter in the World Cup. His career's at an all-time low, really, and we're like, you know what, we'll bring him in on loan. Now, I wanted it to work because obviously he was touted as this amazing player when he was younger, and I thought, I didn't believe it was ever going to work, but I thought hopefully we can get something out of him. Now, obviously we didn't, and I still don't understand the move to this day. I mean, we should have just gone out realistically and spent big on a striker ourselves. I mean, I don't know who was around at the time, I can't remember, but I remember there was actually talks of Vlahovic from Juve, but his wages are insane, so I don't think we ever would have actually got him. But it just felt like Kolo Muani wasn't a forward step, considering we were trending forward after getting into Champions League. It felt like that was even a step back, just taking him on loan. It's not like PSG wanted to keep him, and he rejected us before when he went to Juve in the January transfer window. So it just felt like such an odd thing to do. Now, where Villa are right now, where they've just won the Europa League, I expect them to now push on and do well in the Champions League and still compete in the Premier League. Now, that's also what I expected for us at the end of last year when we won the Europa League. I thought, you know what, we'll compete in the Champions League. We'll probably maybe make a quarter-final, stuff like that, semi-final. That'd be brilliant. That would be a great run for us, in my opinion. Even just like a semi-final would be brilliant for us as a club. But I did expect us to, not be anywhere near that 17th position again. And look where we ended up. I mean, surviving relegation by 2 points is just unheard of for a club of our size. I think we're the ninth biggest club in the world revenue-wise, which just, and talking about them almost getting relegated from the Premier League is just ridiculous. I think it's fair to try and reflect on this season and think, you know what, that probably was just a poor season, and we can move on from it. I think because there was a lot of stuff that came out from the higher ups in the club that were saying we didn't focus on the football this season, which is, the football club didn't focus on football, whatever. I mean, I don't understand what they were doing. It's obviously just such an underwhelming and disappointing season for us that I think next season we just need to focus on even getting into the top half of the table again. Now, with the links that I'm seeing now, Senese, Robertson, Savinho, they are some big players to bring in before the transfer window is even open. To get them agreed is mental, is a great start. Now, obviously, we also need to look at our proper striker, because obviously Kolo Muani out the door. I mean, he was awful anyway, but I could see Richarlison leaving. So I think getting a proper striker in, we really would be setting ourselves up for a good, solid season. Even, I mean, if we get Europe this season, that's a big achievement for us considering where we've been the last year. I think that would be incredible. And also something we need to make sure of is that we keep our players fit. Now, having a big squad obviously helps that, because you're not playing them so much. They're not as risk at injury. But yeah, no, I think if we can push on and get into Europe, considering we couldn't do that after winning Europa League, we couldn't push on from that and bring people in, I think it'd be a much bigger achievement to do that this year, which hopefully, obviously, please God, let it happen. Please God, let us be competing. It's one game a week under De Zerbi, so I have high hopes. He just needs to implement something correctly, and we just need to go with it and just play our football, because I'm tired of watching Thomas Frank and Edor Tudor because it's just awful. It was just awful. So I'm so glad we got De Zerbi going into next season. But yeah. Now I'm going to do another video in a bit, probably a couple of days or so, where I actually just go into depth about what I can see for us next season, because I do like these kinds of videos where I can just sit and talk about football, about Tottenham, because that's all that goes through my head is just Tottenham. So I do like these kinds of videos. But the intro to this video, this is something I made a while back. I was actually going to try faceless content creation. And this was mainly going to be about what success is and stuff like that. I still want to do that, but I really do have to teach myself how to edit first, and I need to plan that video out properly, because I want that to be a heavy hitter. I want that to be a big kind of masterpiece, so I want to perfect that before I put that out. But like, yeah, I mean, if you're watching this now, just tell me what kind of content you prefer. If this is good, just listening, maybe just having this on as background noise for some people. I do that with Seb's video, Seb on Spurs. I just have them on in the background, just absorbing Tottenham knowledge while I'm doing whatever. So maybe, hopefully, people will like my voice enough to be able to listen to me while they do their tasks, and I just talk mundanely into the microphone. But yeah, I mean, this one's a shorter video from the one that was yesterday, but I do enjoy making videos like this. So yeah, I mean, don't forget to subscribe, guys. Leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.